Hello everyone, welcome to this meetup. I'm happy to welcome you today. I am Louise, working in VP Tech, the IT community of VP. So today the topic is moving from Go to .NET, and our speaker will be Vincent Bourdon, lead developer in VP Tech. So I'm not going to talk too much, but at the end you will have a Q&A session with Vincent Bourdon, so you can discuss with him directly. And so if you have any question, feel free to note them in the paper on your smartphone and ask them at the end to Vincent Bourdon. Vincent, the floor is yours. I give you the mic. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Hello, everybody. So my name is Vincent Bourdon. I'm going to share my slides. It should be okay now. So today we are going to, I'm going to give you a feedback of a big project we have done to migrate from a GoLang project done in microservices to C#. First of all, about myself, my name is Vincent Bourdon. I work at VP since 3 years now as a lead dev in the SMAC team. I'm a .NET developer since the beginning of .NET, and you can follow me on the YouTube on the French channel on Bundle Dev. I'm going to speak very quickly because I've got a lot of content. So don't hesitate to come back after the session, after the presentation, to ask any question. So first of all, what is SMAC? SMAC is simply a back office application with a front and a back end. The front end is done in React and TypeScript, and the back end is done in Go with many microservices that communicate using gRPC and Kafka.
Vincent?
Yes?
Sorry, can you unshare and reshare your screen, please?
Oh. Is it good?
I can see your camera right now, but not your screen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Otherwise, can you share with me your slide? If you want, I can do the sharing screen for you.
No. Okay.
Hear me? Otherwise, can you share with me your slide? If you want, I can do the
So,
sorry for the delays. We have some issues with the sharing screen. Otherwise, Vincent, you can try to leave the room and go back. Disconnect and reconnect.
yeah, maybe.
Yes. Otherwise, you can also send me your slide if you want. I can do it for you. So guys, in the meantime, you can look for a paper and prepare your question. Prepare to write your question to Vincent at the end. Okay, we can see your screen now, Vincent.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Maybe I will go back a little. So, yeah. But does it move?
Can you try? Yes, it moves. Perfect.
Oh yeah, there's 2 minutes of delay. Okay. So again, about me, I'm a lead dev of the team Smack. I'm a .NET developer since a long time ago, and you can find me on the Bumble. So what is Smack? Smack app is a back office app to manage the merchandising we got on the sale. The front end is done in React and TypeScript, and the backend in Go microservices, and it uses gRPC and Kafka to communicate. So today we are going more to talk about the backend. This is a screenshot of Smack app. This is almost the first screen you can see. So it's very a basic back office application. Okay, so here's a plan. I'm going to start with why we have choose to migrate, how we have done this, what are the changes for the architecture, and also for the code. And after I will details more about some component, GraphQL we use, data access layer API client, and notification system, and I will conclude. And don't forget, after all that, you can come up here in the room and ask any question. So first of all, why do change on something that already work? Because the Go code is not an issue. Go is working very well. So why do we need to change something that works? And in fact, the application, as I said, is in GoLang, but all the team members have left, and we try to hire new developers in Go. But guess what? We have no any candidates in 9 months. So I feel very lonely. So after all this time, I just decide with manager and other people to take the time to migrate all the code to .NET and more to C#. We at VP Tech we also use sometimes F#. That is another language of .NET, but for this migration, I decided to use C#. That is more common and more known. First of all, I'm a better developer in .NET for sure, and also VP have a lot of .NET developers who can ask for mobility and who maybe will join the team. So since everybody have left, a few words about the risk. We've got risk for sure, but I really think that the risk of migrate the code is less than having nobody to make evolution and maintenance on the code. So how we did that, we accomplished this work with a new fresh team because as I said, everybody from the original team have left. And the dev team is composed of 3 people. We've got Onur, the junior that always have a good question. This is very interesting because it makes us think about stuff we don't even think of. So thanks for all the good questions. We got Eduardo that have more experience and that confirm every time what I think. And I love when people think like me. So I think this is why I just get him in the team. And me, that I'm always pretty sure, but not so sure. So 3 developers, and what is the current state? So we got a very big code in Go, split in 9 microservices. And what is cool with Go is the language is pretty basic, and we should be able to just record one for one, almost like line by line to C#. We will see just after it's not true, but in the mindset, this is what I was thinking at the beginning. So, okay, we can move how to start. This is a very good question, because you can do it bottom up, mean from the data access layer to API, or you can do the other way, top bottom. Should we need to do it by microservices one by one? And finally, at the beginning, I decided to do service by service and do it bottom up. So from the data access layer to the API. The true story is that we discover a big mess of service dependency. So each microservices is calling the other one. And worst, if you got a service A and a service B, service A will call B, but sometimes B will call A. And so you don't know really where to start and which service is the first one in the flow. So after all, we start everything, we got nothing really working. It's a real SOA architecture, you know. So very basically, to keep it simple, I just start making a markdown file and list what is done, what is not done, what are the dependencies of each services, and yeah, just do a checklist. And also about the circle dependency, because we have some, we just need to refactor and maybe create new services or split in different interfaces, but it's more in details. Okay, cool. So we now know how to code mostly one by one for each line, for each microservices, but how to be sure it works. Basically, we don't want to record all the tests one by one, because some of those tests, existing tests in Go, was not so good. It was most of the test was good, but not all. So I don't want to record exactly the same test. So we use the GraphQL contract really as a contract. We should add the exact same contract. And we use the front end that just have not changed as test interface for manual tests. And yeah, we also add some new unit tests and some other integration and end-to-end tests. So when I said integration is kind of end-to-end with mock data, and real end-to-end is with the real database, because when you can, the mock, if you try to mock everything, you are not 100% sure everything is working. I forget to say, but we are using PG database with JSON-B, and for this kind of stuff, it's very dependent of the database, and you need a real end-to-end. You cannot mock everything. So yeah, end-to-end is very important. And this is also where the quality assurance and Christopher, that is the dedicated QA for SMAC, have done a very excellent work. We already have a lot of automated tests on the UI and API. So API, I mean GraphQL. Okay, so we almost know how to go to code to test, and now we wanted to have some changes. Since we are very few developers, I want things to become very, very simple, very stupid as simple. To do that, I remove the microservices. I know it will shock a lot of people, but I think back office application is not so complicated, and you can do it the old way. Since we don't use microservices, we don't need gRPC anymore, and we don't need Kafka for internal notification. So it remove a lot of code because you don't need to have the serialization for gRPC, configuration for gRPC, and so on, and also for the Kafka. I forget on this presentation, I don't have the time to show you also the change on the CI, on the continuous integration and continuous deployment. So if you have any question on those subjects, don't hesitate to come after and ask question. But it changed a lot of stuff about the CI. And also we embed the front end since .NET is a web server. I mean, we have web server. I think it can't just deliver the static file without any issue. So we got really all in one package, .NET application that manage everything. Some people will call this monolith, but I really think it's just an application, very basic. Also, it's good because at VP we try to waste not waste too much resources. Microservices can be very good, but you need to deploy a lot of stuff. Since we want the application to be resilient and also have high availability, we need to deploy on many data centers, and on each one we need to deploy many times. So let's say it's almost 4 pods by microservices. We got 9 services. So I let you do the calculation. And also it needs load balancer, configuration, monitoring, alerting, logging, everything for each services, and maybe for each pods. I'm sorry, I'm talking about pods. We are using Kubernetes to manage the application. So if you don't know, Kubernetes is like it's like using Dockers. And pods is we can think of pods like containers, a running application. Here it's the original model. We see each block here, blue block, that is microservices. In fact, the UI was external. It was another pod. The GraphQL API was another pod, and each one. When we change the architecture, we just take everything from this square. I hope you see my mouse. And we just put everything inside the same application in the same process. We still using the same organization. So we still have cell, search, identifier, etc. but it's all inside the same application. So it's very easy also to deploy. We deploy the application and it's always the same. We've got versioning, so if you deploy the application, it will be always the same. You don't need to deploy many stuff to synchronize the deployment, and yeah. Okay, let's talk about the changes on the code. I'm already very sorry about Go developers that will watch this presentation. Maybe I will troll a lot, but it's not a problem of Go. It's maybe also sometimes a problem of the original code. We can do better. We know we can always do better. So let's talk about the typing. In the original code, we have a lot of string everywhere, mostly everywhere. You can see here a lot of string in red. It's mostly for the IDs, but yeah, mostly for the IDs. It can be also for something else. In fact, those IDs are grid. We know we can use grid in Go. You just need to add the package. It's not by default. Just need to add the package from Google. In .NET, grid are very basic. It's directly in the framework, so we can use grid almost everywhere. Yeah, very easy to use. And it's a very known type. Again, more string. Here we got a dictionary or a map of a string to a collection of other string. We use that to say on this country, on this website, I want to be able to use both language. In .NET, we have decided to use enumeration. So we got this special type, enum, where you define a list of fixed values. You cannot use something that are not in the list. So we defined it, a list of language, list of country, and we can create a dictionary or a map. And yeah, we also use a string here. At the beginning, I was not using the string. I was using the culture info type that we got in .NET. But I rolled back to a very basic string because it was too much. I don't need all the structures, the heavy structure of culture info. So using just the string is enough. In Go, we use interface and sometimes empty interface. Personally, I hate that. It's like saying, okay, it can be anything. I think the issue is clearly on the code. It's not an issue on Go, okay? So what we try to do is use generic in .NET. So we don't need any interface. We can use interface for sure, but we can also use a specific type. And here, for example, we got some string that is translated for each country. And the translated string is just an object of string. So this is a generic type we use there. And I don't put the implementation here because it's too long, but you can do translated value of any type. And it's very useful. And also, I know now Go as generic. Oh yeah, we also have a lot of map with empty value. I really hate that. I know it's not really an issue, but when you see only a few lines, if I see only this line, I really don't know what I'm trying to do. It's very difficult to understand the code just by reading few lines. In .NET, we decided to use the hash set. That is really a set of value, and you cannot add. In fact, every time we use the hash set is to get distinct value, and you cannot add twice the same values. And yeah, it also used generic. In Go, we use loop, and it's very easy to use loop in Go because you use the for syntax. There is only one syntax for a loop, so it makes it very easy. But we see loop a lot of time, and it's not an issue in fact because it's easy to understand. But we got a first loop here. On articles, we try to get all the distinct in GP. You see here again, maybe you don't see it, but we got this empty struct. So this is where we use the hash set. And after that, we again loop on those collection, new collection to extract the value. If you read that code, the code is working very well. It's not an issue, but it's just hard to understand what we are trying to do unless you read the function name. That is not so bad. But in .NET, we use link, and the function name is still the same, but you also understand very quickly what we are trying to do. So it's more a functional way of doing stuff. I want to do a projection on the field and just give me all the distinct value. And I can transform all those values to an array, to a list, or anything. And yes, we got link in Go on this package. The implementation is very nice. It's very nice to use also. But yeah, in .NET, it's by default, and it's very, very well integrated in the language. In Go, you can use tuple, and it's very useful. We use tuple to get back errors and values, usually. But you can use it for anything. It's very well. In .NET, we can also have tuple, but we also have named. We can name each part of the tuple, even if the position's still very, very important. It's make the development experience very friendly because you got auto-completion and you know what you are working on. And more importantly, when the tuple have the same type many times. So here I've got twice a map of string template session, and it's very important to know inverse the both. Also in .NET, we got the expression body. It's very useful to just reduce the number of line. It's just nice to have. So using all, okay, sorry, about the async, concurrent, and parallel. In Go, we use the Go routine. It's looked very, very easy at the beginning, but when you do some Go routine in Go, you need to define channel to give back information. You need keyword. It's not so complex, but it can become a little complex. So it's look like that. You got a channel where you're gonna exchange data, and you're gonna create a Go routine here using the Go keyword. And in the Go routine, you will use the channel to exchange some data. By the way, the channel is typed. This is very good. So you cannot send back data that is not in the good format. Yeah, it's very nice. But in .NET, we've got task, and we use a task parallel library. There is many ways to do things very parallels. You can use system threading task parallel using a for each async. That's nice sometimes when you don't need a result, but if you need a result, you will also need kind of thread safe collection to use and update. My favorite way is to use plink. It means parallel link. Why I prefer this version is because you can start very classic way doing a loop. So just doing, okay, on my collection, on my inputs, I want to do a projection and other stuff. And when I'm pretty sure of the result, I'm going just to add this function as parallel, and it will make cross CPU and make all parallels for me. Also, you can create a list, a collection of subtasks, and say, okay, now execute all those tasks in parallel and just tell me when all is done. So we got a very different way to do the same, depending of what you need. Do you need a feedback? Do you need value back? Or it just fire and forget? By the way, we use tasks, so async for almost, no, not for almost, for all the I/O. So for all database access, it will be a task. So we will await and give back later the response. And for web API, the same. So every time we use task, and so the pattern become very simple and very used. Maybe you saw some tweet on number of line. I update yesterday the number of line. So it's going bigger now because we fix some stuff, and also we add new function. But it's still less than the original Go code. The number of line is not so important. It's more the percentage, let's say the percentage of reduction, because depending of how you count the line, it can change a little. To count the light, I use a tooling rider in the JetBrains IDE that is named static analyze, and it gives me the line of code for Go and C#. Okay, let's talk now about what we have used to do it in .NET, and so about libraries and NuGet we use. First one is the GraphQL part. There is, let's say, two ways in .NET to do GraphQL in C#. It's GraphQL C# and hot chocolate. I decided to use hot chocolate, and I still think this is a very good choice because it's very performant, it's easy to use, and the community is working a lot on the hot chocolate and all the other tools. You can do it with annotation, with code first or schema first. It supports the subscription, very important. In Smack, all the UI do subscription to react on change. So if we got many users on the same cell, a change from one user will be reflected to the other screen on other users. and it uses WebSocket that is also supported by default by ASP.NET. It works very, very well with Entity Framework. And Entity Framework is a library to do data access layer. I will talk about that just after. And it also have a very nice tool, Banana Cupcake, that is like a client for your GraphQL. I think I've got, yeah, this is it. This is Banana Cupcake. You can make queries and you can see all the schema of your GraphQL application. It's very, very nice. About the data access layer, at the beginning, we start with a micro ORM named RepoDB. It's a very, very good one. It's performant, it's easy to use, it supports many databases. We are working on PG, so it works very well with Postgres and even with JSON. And also have good feature like the bulk, the batch, the caching, and yeah, very, 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 very nice. But after all, in fact, it's not so old. We decided to move to Entity Framework. Many people maybe here know that Entity Framework is not so micro. It's bigger and have a lot of feature, and I decided to move to this because it have very good feature on specific database for Postgre and also for JSONB and array and stuff like that. So here you can see a list of .NET function that will be translated to very nice SQL for the Postgres. This is very, very useful. What we try is avoid at maximum the SQL query as string. So if we can do it all in link and be sure that it's type safe, it's better, just better. So the migration also to Entity Framework have been done, and it will be in production very soon. About the API client, there's many ways to do it in .NET. We decided, well, I decided to use Refit. It's like retrofit if you are doing Android developments. So you just have to do interface that defined a function of your API, and you add some attributes on each one. And the implementation will be generated for you. You just have to register the client, and since it's very working very well with .NET, you can use the HTTP factories and all the very well-known configuration system. To resume, it's very easy to use because you define just an empty interface with attributes, and it will use the new feature of C#, the source generator, to generate the client. After all, you can use all the functionality of HTTP client we know in .NET, so you can add middleware. It's easy to configure, add default header, and you can add APK, mirror, any kind of authentication. Another big change is since we move from microservices to all-in-one in the same process, we don't really need anymore the Kafka. We can keep it, but I think it's very heavy. And so we decided to change this to in-process messaging system And to do it, we use a library that is named Mediator. It was very easy to change from Kafka to Mediator because the code was very well. You got a type for each kind of message, and we also have a function in Go for to handle those messages. So we just have mainly to port one by one, and it's just now in process. It's used generic, so the generic part will be here. You got an example. This generic part is a kind of message or notification message you want to handle, and you just have to code a very basic handler class that have handle function and do the work. Also, it's very easy to use in .NET because you can inject any dependency that you already register at the startup of your program. If you got any question, again, don't hesitate to come after the presentation and ask me. I've done this very fast, so please come after and ask a lot of questions. To conclude, doing a migration is possible. It took us 3 months, so we was 3 developers and 2 developers just arrived at VP, so they don't know a lot of things in VP ecosystem, but also in SMAC application. So it's like starting from scratch. So 3 months is not so much for beginners. And also one of the developers was not a .NET developers, so we need also to learn a lot about .NET, and each platform has a lot about tooling, about environment, about framework you need to know. So yeah, again, 3 months was good. It's very nice to have done this work because now we really know how the application in the whole scope is working. We know all the detail about the database, the storage, all the JSON structure we use in the database. Yeah, we know very well the SMAC, and it will be very easy to make some evolution now. And yeah, this is the point. Evolution and support will become very easy. And also the deploy, because now since I don't have any microservices, I just deploy only one package, one Docker image, and it will deploy everything. What's next? Because the job is never finished. We still need to clean a lot of code because we did it very quickly. So we have done some shortcut, and we need maybe to put back some stuff. And about the other point, we need to create a strong domain model without any dependencies. In fact, we just have done this work. Sometimes it's hard to have no dependency. To be very transparent, we have a very bad dependency to Entity Framework core because in the domain model we are using a type that is known only on Postgres. This type is damn, I forget the name. I can look after if I've got some question. But we need those type to work with the model. And also we add new event. Those events will be used with Mediator. And from Mediator, we will mainly we will do a job for sure. We do some mutation or stuff like that, or just query, but most of the time it's just to notify the mutation, and it notify then to GraphQL subscription, and all the clients of the web app will be notified and update. And all that is, in fact, a kind of clean architecture. Again, I can detail more if you want. But we got domain, we got infrastructure and web with the GraphQL and data access layer. And that's it. I was very fast, so this is the end. You can just leave this room in VP Quest and go up, and I will try to answer any question. So thanks again to watch this presentation, and see you next time.
Thank you, Vincent. As Vincent said, now it's time for the question and answer. So I invite all of you to move on the meeting room just up where you are right now to ask your question directly to Vincent and discuss with him. See you.
See you. Bye.